Welcome, Rippaverse fans and comic book fans alike, to another audio discussion about Rippaverse Comics. In this episode, we'll talk about the Dokumaan trading cards, and before we do, let's take a look back at the Dokumaan trailer.
Earth, a place with such interesting beings. Like many other planets throughout the cosmos, their subjects have needless squabbles. But from those conflicts, I've discovered some creatures that could be of great use to our efforts. I'm not quite ready for the selection, but after many patient years, I feel it is time for more thorough documentation. This city is where we begin.
All right. Well, I want to welcome you to this audio discussion about the Dokumaan cards. And it's really exciting because it's not just the comic books. I got some of the comic books here. Got Isom #1 cover B there. Got cover C right there. But the Dokumaan cards are supposed to have, you know, the additional lore, right? More information that ties back into the book. And, we just want to get fans' perspective on, these cards and what does it mean for us? Is it really valuable? Does it help with the story? Which I think it does because I read the story and I just saw your post. You just got yours. So how did you like the story so far?
I like it. I find with a lot of other stories, they do these things where they make you wait forever for an answer, and then sometimes never give you an answer or give you half an answer and claim that it's up to you to think up everything else. And I don't find that a satisfying answer. But this one, even though it didn't answer all my questions, it still gave me a good stepping stone so I can, I'm satisfied and still want to know more.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way. There was so much little details in the book. It introduced a lot of characters, and although they still seem mysterious and you're wanting for more, it's not like at least for me, it's not like a bad wanting for more. It's more like, oh wow, I can't wait for what's to come. And I think that's how ISOM #1 for me is. And so with the cards coming out, I just got the cards this past week, if not a week and a half ago, and it took a while for me to open it up. I finally did. And these, did you get the cards by chance?
No, just the books.
Okay, yeah. So these cards, they came in packs. They came in packs. I think I have a few of them. They came in these packs here in packs of 3, and so one pack had like 3, 4, all total 11, right? So this is the first one for ISOM, 5x7, lenticular design. So by moving the card, not sure if you can see it, the character moves just a little bit.
3D.
Yeah, it's basically 3D. It's not too obnoxious. There's those cards where it's like super moving one direction. It kind of hurts the eye. This one is a little bit easy on the eye, I feel. So it's not too bad. So it's a little bit of movement, not like complete action, like a fist, going forward, but just enough to like get that cool factor. So it's really nice. So this is ISOM, of course, #1 here. But what's interesting is in the back, right? We got Isom, his real name, Avery Silman. If you ever wondered, right? His height, 6 feet, as you can see there. Weight, 200 pounds. You got birthplace from Forest Park, Texas. And first appearance, Isom #1, April 2022. And it goes a little bit about the background, which is, fairly includes the information we kind of already know. But this is Dokumaan talking, right? So as the first sentence, this man is one of the most intriguing subjects I've been keeping tabs on. And I like this one. He says, he is clearly an Except, but I've not quite figured out the origin of his powers. I find that interesting. I remember in the story, there's a scene where Isom is running away and he's, I think he's running on top of the roofs, the rooftops of a building. And the cops are like, why is he running? Isn't he an Except? And as you remember, the Alpha Core, they're considered exibs, and they can fly, right? Yaira can fly. So it's almost like from that scene, it felt like generally the people thought of exibs as powerful beings that can fly. At least that's what I got from that guy. However,
Yeah,
it's clearly not the case. Um,
the bouncer with the gold teeth couldn't fly, or at least
yeah,
we didn't see him fly.
exactly. He couldn't fly. So that, yeah. So thank you for reminding me. I thought of that afterwards. Like, wait, Antoine can't fly, but he does have extraordinary powers, and he's considered an except. And they had that whole discussion fight scene where they're talking about the word, right? We're not the same, but they called us excepts and put us in the general same category, but we're not. We're different. But it also talks about the powers, right? So in this one, it says, I do not know what his powers actually are. What I do know is that he's very strong and has only gotten stronger. So in our spoiler chat, there was one person that talked about if he could describe Isom's power, it was just generally power growth. What do you think?
Well, I like they kept it kind of still a mystery. In some ways, might not have actual power. It's just worked really, really hard to get to that point. But when it gets to certain of his feats, such as being able to stab his feet into a wall to climb up it, or smash another person through a wall, it's clearly not entirely natural. But I think it may be a combination of the two, that he may have found a way to sort of channel power, but I don't think he's naturally an except like the others. He's somehow different.
Well, that's a good point. Not naturally an except. So Dokumaan sees him as an except. Maybe there's more to it, right? I mean, there's still world building here. This could transition to a whole new set of powerful beings that might not be called exit, might be called something different later on in the future, years to come. Who knows? What I found interesting too was, oh, here in this line, it says, the suit that he wore has a symbol on the waistband that seems to change colors, but I don't quite know what it means. I thought that was interesting. We've
Well,
only seen him wear the suit once at the end, right?
yeah,
Um, but so we haven't seen it change colors. Although the color here is like a grayish color. Unsure what the colors in his other belts are, but it changes. We might see a little bit more of that in the next issue.
yeah. The symbol does look a bit like a cross, so maybe it comes from his religious background, since they mentioned that he'd go to church on Sundays, or various people he knew would.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the first card. Second one here is of course Yaira, and I had to actually get the name correct because the other audio discussion we had earlier, I almost couldn't remember how to pronounce her name. But going back to the videos, Yaira here, really really nice. I thought this was the really cool looking one out of the bunch. Number two. So real name is unknown. She's gone as several names, it says here. 6'3", 215 pounds. Wow, this muscle. And can't be from Earth. Oh, she's an alien. Power observation. When her powers are activated, her hair and fingertips turn bluish. She has a constant whirlwind that surrounds her, which could explain her flight. Icicles seem to grow from her pores. I thought that was interesting because I was wondering what those blue bubble looking things were coming out of her chest and her hand. Icicles. So a little bit of whirlwind, a little bit of ice. What did you think? Was that kind of what you thought it would have been, or did you think that maybe she was a water person or
I thought
lightning?
it was just energy manipulation, like, well, I hate to say it, like Captain Marvel, but I like that idea of it being ice. Kind of, it appeals to my scientific mind and thinks maybe she's absorbing all of the heat in order to project energy, and ice is the byproduct of it because the sudden change in temperature.
Wow, interesting. I like it. We'll definitely learn more of her. I'm hoping there's two other projects, right, that is in the works. I'm hoping one of those projects is her story here, and the other project is, referencing the other characters in the book. But I'm really hoping it's Yaira. She was a fan favorite, from the get go, and I like her. So that's number two. Number three here we got Santwan, big muscular guy, and he's huge. You already see him in the book, right? Bigger than Avery, bigger than everybody else. But real name Santwan, don't know the last name. So height 6'7", weight at least 500 pounds. So big guy, all muscle, power. I really like. I think we already figured this out from the book, but right from the get go, a feared except for hire, right? So looks like he's been around doing business for multiple gangs or organizations. Power observation. To my knowledge, his power is brute strength. One of the greatest feats I've witnessed from him is dragging an inoperable tank that belonged to the Texas military. I wonder if we're going to see that scene in some issue later where, I don't know, maybe that actual thing he did was recorded, and we're going to see it somewhere in the book or one of the comic books where they're watching what Santwan did at one military base or something. But that'll be cool.
Well, if they wanted to make it seem even more impressive, everyone thinks dragging a tank or dragging a car or dragging it on the wheels. I think they should have him dragging the tank that's upside down so that there's no leverage at all, and he's doing enough brute strength to pull without any help.
Like it. That's him. I think the scene here is kind of like I think he might be in a war scene here. There's some smoke in the background. Definitely destruction all over the place. So maybe a war zone, maybe a building collapse, and he emerged from all the cement bricks, and now he's gonna go attack. But that's Santwan. That's number three. Number three there. Now this one, I think you're gonna like Darren Fontaino. I don't know, when you read the story and there was scenes with him and Avery talking, did you think he was an accept or had some sort of powers?
Darren, he's not the tailor, is he?
Nope, he is the gang leader of.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the club Merc.
I don't think he had any powers. I think he probably, well, like he said, used both legal and illegal means to build an empire. And I got some Walter White vibes from him. And, or if Walter White had maintained his empire, seems like he's gotten everything to exactly the way that he wants it. And now that Avery is coming in, it's putting his life's work at risk.
Very nice. Donnell, thanks for joining.
What's going on, man? How you guys doing?
Good. So you came at the right time because I already asked John about Darren and if he may have thought that Darren had some powers. What do you think? I'm gonna turn the card and show the powers. But did you ever think he had some sort of powers similar to Avery? Reading in the book.
I didn't. So I didn't really focus on Darren that much. So I can't say that I thought that he had powers at all.
Okay. Well, moment of truth in the back. Let's see what Dokumaan says. I did read it ahead of time, but just wanted to ask you guys' opinion. Powers with observation. The local police let him do whatever he wants, and the local politicians praise him as if he's a humanitarian. I think if we could summarize that in one word, probably influence. Just really good at, maybe he's a good talker.
Yes.
Influencer.
Smooth talker. That's kind of the only thing I thought as I was reading.
It's possible he doesn't have powers, but he might know someone who does. And let's say it's something as simple as invisibility or truth detection, and he could dig up dirt on all these politicians and thus keep them in line because they're afraid of their own little dirty secrets getting out.
I don't know if you guys talked about it already, but did you catch those two beings in the club while all the drama was going down? Sitting in the cut, their eyes were glowing.
Yeah, it looked like they were probably trying to muscle in on the territory.
So I have a theory. I don't know if they were trying to muscle in or if they're beings similar to the Eternals. That's kind of the thought that I had. Like there's something greater going on in the background, and they were part of whatever that greater thing was.
Yeah, these are the two right here: Lilian, Ronashi, and Michael Cooper.
Yeah.
So you think Darren has some sort of hold on these two for business purposes and things like that?
No, I actually don't think they were connected to Darren at all. I think they just happened to be there for whatever reason, scoping out the club. Not exactly sure why, not sure if they were looking for accepts, but I'm not sure that they are connected to Darren.
Oh, good point. Good point. So Lilian Ronashi here, number 5 in the deck. If we turn her around, real name Lilian Ronashi. Height is 5'7", weight is 125 pounds, birthplace is unknown, but the powers here. She's very observant, and her powers seem to reflect that. With her magic, if that's what it is, I've watched her mold and project a very detailed layout of a building for visual purposes. I don't know. What do you guys think? How can we expand on this? What's possibly magic?
So like I said, I think that both of them are connected to what you remember when Eric July did the first Rippaverse video, and at the end you had that like the ominous voice. So I think whatever is going on, I think kind of how the story has been crafted is similar to many comic book stories where you have this menacing figure in the background, some eternal being outside of our realm. And I think she might be, or both of them might be connected to whoever that is.
Well, that Norfica group at the end did seem to be like they were ancient gods or aliens, and they were looking out for something big coming. So I don't know if those two might be connected to them somehow, or they might be completely different and just rival gang members with powers who are, I guess, kind of like Frank Fontaine in BioShock, taking someone else's empire away from them, letting the others do all the work.
All right, so Lilian is number 5, and then number 6, of course, is Michael Cooper. Dokumaan says his height is 6'1", weight is about 175. Oh, from Central Tennessee. You see that?
How about that?
Power observation. His eyes light up green, and his powers are related to his vision. I know that he can see great distances and beyond certain barriers, but something tells me that isn't all he can do.
Yeah, so see, that kind of leads me to believe that even though it says he's from Tennessee, yeah, that's where he's living, but that's not really where he's from. That's kind of the impression I'm getting.
With the eye thing, I mean, sometimes superpowers, they give them really lame abilities, like being able to see really far, but it sounds like with this, they're hinting that a lot of things can be done with that power. Let's just say, for example, X-ray vision. Let's say if you focus that radiation into a beam, maybe that's how Superman is able to see through things. Maybe his X-ray vision is related to his heat vision.
I like that. That's a nice scientific thought there. Interesting. I definitely think we haven't seen, well, all of them. We haven't seen all of their powers in full-blown measure, but yeah. I wonder if his vision can also possibly see the future. Maybe not too far. Maybe 10 minutes from now, he knows what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, if you go to time theory of any event that happens ripples both forwards and backwards in time, maybe he can see those ripples and see a reflection of what would happen or has happened, or either way.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Like it. So that was number 6 on the list here, Michael Cooper. Let's see. Number 7 here, Braxwell. Like almost like a Judge Dredd feel when I saw his helmet.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Real name, Jeremiah Braxwell. Height, 5'10". Weight, 170 pounds. Also from Flores Park. He's the more silent member of Alpha Corps, it says here. So we might not hear too much from him, but probably a lot more action if we do ever see him. He was part of the Flores Park police force, but when he became a part of it, it marked the creation of the Alpha Corps. So it looks like the Alpha Corps is part of Flores Park. I'm thinking maybe the police force had a lot of powerful folks, and they're like, "Oh, let's make a team, call them Alpha Corps, possibly." Power observation. He possesses the ability to fly at a speed that even rivals his colleague, Bryan Solari. His raw strength isn't particularly special, but he does have tremendous durability. How do you guys feel about Braxwell?
So maybe something like Wolverine, where he has a healing factor, maybe?
I'm thinking possibly more like Luke Cage, but also being able to fly.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Good point.
In the back here, it does talk about the helmet. Let's see.
Yeah, why is he the only one wearing a helmet?
Yeah. Here, Dokumaan says at the end, "I do not understand the specific point of the helmet and visor of Braxwell." So we just don't know yet. So it's interesting, right? There's a lot of like the storyline that Dokumaan provides here, and I think we don't know all of it. So maybe future Dokumaan cards that are going to bring back these characters, either in a different design, is going to expand on that background. So
give you more detail.
Exactly. So we definitely haven't seen the last of these character cards. If there's one Braxwell, there'll probably be another Braxwell with more details, and another one and another one. So we'll see different variants, I believe. So again, which adds to the whole collector vibe, right? Also adding more to the lore and excitement, and just finding information that's not necessarily said or obvious in the book. So I like it. I really like it.
Yeah, what's interesting is as I was watching across the landscape of the internet and listening to different criticisms, one of the criticisms I felt that was kind of odd was a lot of people, well, not a lot, but there's few people who complain that there wasn't enough information. They didn't know enough about the characters. And in my mind, that's actually what made me like the storyline even more. Because I thought, okay, so this stuff is going to be revealed with more detail later on, which I actually kind of prefer that. I prefer not to have everything right up front.
It hooks you in and makes you want to read more.
Yes, exactly.
So next one here is Ingrid Valdez, also part of the Alpha Corps. But Ingrid here, real name Ingrid Valdez, height 5'8", weight 150 pounds, birthplace Flores Park, Texas, newest and youngest member of Alpha Corps. She's been very secretive with how she's obtained her powers. So not even Dokumaan shares any more information about her just yet, right, with these cards. So again, like I mentioned, more cards to come with variant designs and more information. But from what we're able to hear from what Dokumaan says, the public calls her a wirecaster, able to extend green color energy. She depends on this ability not just for various attacks, but for traversal as well. So she's not a flyer.
Yeah, one of these pictures, she seems to be hanging on to Solari, so maybe she can't fly. Maybe she needs the others to carry her around, and otherwise she just uses them to grapple hook all around.
Yeah, there was that scene where the leader of Alpha Corps, I forgot his name, but we'll get to him. He was actually holding her when they're trying to attack Yaira. But even in this one, you can see looks like he's holding her while they're trying to attack. So that definitely clears up a lot. I know we've been talking about Alpha Core, and I think a lot of other people mentioned she doesn't look like she's a flyer. And so just from Dokumaan's words here, you can definitely see that. But green energy, that one is a new one. A little bit more information about from what I read. There's no evidence that she ever had them throughout her childhood. So she was actually a former power lifter. So this woman is no slouch physically. She was handpicked by Braxwell to join Alpha Core after a run-in with her during a mission. Many people make the mistake in assuming that it's her suit that gives her the abilities, but I'm not exactly sure she even needs it. So I'm wondering if her suit, possibly custom made from the tailor guy, to kind of what's the word, harness her powers in a way where she can control them better. I wonder if it's like those scenes where you take off the uniform and her power is like uncontrollable, kind of like Cyclops, right? You take his visor off, his eyes just go crazy, right?
Yeah, interesting. That's an interesting theory.
Other than Yaira, this might be another fan favorite later on, but seeing her and Yaira fight it off, I think that'll be a really cool female kind of fighting action.
Duel of wits.
Yep. So that was number 8, Ingrid Valdez. Pretty interesting. And of course, Bryan Solari, the leader, pretty much the Superman looking guy of the bunch. So, what are your thoughts before we turn over? What do you think his powers are?
If I had to guess, I'm gonna say super strength. I don't know, flying. Obviously, I don't know much beyond that. The book didn't really show much, so that's just my first guess.
I don't know, maybe I'm just getting this impression, but I get the feeling he's a bit of a poser. That he's just trying to make himself look as much like Superman as possible, but deep down he's just scared, can't do anything for himself, and is mostly bluster.
I did think he was tall, and the card does say he's 6'4", weighs about 245 pounds. Birthplace, the Village, Texas. Don't know where that is, if that's an actual place, but that's what it says here. Bryan Solari is the clear and obvious leader of Alpha Core, veteran of the Great War Separation. Ooh, that'll be a comic book series. What is that Great War Separation? His journey started with the Texas military. Oh, military background. The result of a rather successful experiment. He completely changed the tide of the war with the tactical use of his abilities. After the war, he settled in Forest Park, where he became the primary response agency for all threats that were XSEPs. Realizing that he needed a team, he recruited Braxwell, and this marked the formation of Alpha Core. One of the most powerful beings in the region, he has successfully fought off both human and alien threats. Simply put, he's a Texas legend that is loved by just about everyone. Oh, so people know him. What are your thoughts?
Separation War, that sounds interesting. I want to know more, but I know I'm going to have to wait.
Fighting off aliens, that caught me immediately. And it took me both to, I can't remember their names, the two that were in the club and the group, the rock group at the end of the book. And like I said, I believe there's a greater overarching story that the Rippaverse is getting to, which is probably the reason why they're progressing the story so slowly. It actually makes sense. You don't want to move too fast and lose details and then get to some big epic situation and not understand exactly how you got there.
Yeah, it's like one of those friends who tries to show you the final scene of a movie because he thinks it's so cool, but then you don't have the context that he does, and so it gets kind of lost on you. So build up.
And like I said, it's odd that the critiques I heard, as far as that goes, it was odd to me. I'm like, if you're a comic book person, like I've been reading comic books since I was 13. I'm 43 years old. I know that most brand new comic books don't start you out with much detail. There's a reason for that. They want to pull you in. They want to build a character. They want to pull you into the universe, get you invested into it, and you really can't do that if you have all the details right out the gate.
And based off of the Rippaverse Code of Ethics, right, there's going to be a continuous timeline, right, continuity of some sort that everything ties in together. So this great war of separation definitely going to be uh, referencing the past. Probably, I wonder if that's going to be like coming from an issue or storyline dedicated to either just Bryan Solari or a comic book storyline for the Alpha Core in general and their big event or their last big hurrah that made them, that solidified their group's reputation in the storyline. That's where the Great War of Separation is going to come into play, where they win the war of some sort. That'll be a very interesting story if it's going to play out that way.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't think the separation war is Texas deciding to become its own sovereign nation, and that's why we only hear about Texas in this?
Ooh, that would be very interesting.
Ooh, can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by that?
Well, let's say Texas tries to declare statehood or sovereignty, and the rest of the U.S. doesn't want that, and kind of a new civil war starts. And somehow, despite being outgunned, the only way that Texas wins is somehow they develop accepts. They develop the ability to make super soldiers, and no one else can get that, and so Texas becomes its own sovereign nation.
Interesting. What's interesting about that is, I'm glad you brought that up, because as I was reading, my assumption reading through the book is that accepts were like a natural occurrence, but the book actually never implies that. So that's definitely a good possibility. That's a good catch.
I really, really like that. I think, like you mentioned, like a civil war, right? Marvel has a civil war. I think a lot of people may have liked that type of idea of a storyline. We could have something like that in the Rippaverse, but not necessarily reference it as a civil war, but hence the Great War of Separation. And now I'm thinking where you said that they created excepts, referencing the boys, right? Wasn't that kind of an experiment in itself, creating superpower people? So maybe these excepts, even though that's a generalized term of the super beings, it's possible that these super beings have their own origin where they're either born with it, they were either given something as an experiment to become it, or they're from, like Yaira, not of Earth, from somewhere else. So that's Bryan Solari, leader of Alpha Core.
Alpha Core kind of reminded me of, well, you mentioned Civil War, the side that went with the hero registration and all that. Maybe there's more to Alpha Core than just those three. Maybe there's an entire organization of accepts who are working for the government.
Good point, because in this backstory here, Dokumaan says he is one of the most powerful beings in the region, right? He's not even mentioning the world. So in this region of Alpha Core jurisdiction, this is the top guy.
And in the back cover of the comic book, right when you open it, you see a picture of Isom beating up about 5 different guys who all seem to be wearing Alpha Core uniforms.
So I came in late. Did the cards actually explain who Dokumaan is?
No. I guess the best backstory we can have, at least the current backstory of Dokumaan, is from the trailer. Have you seen the trailer? That kind of gives a little insight on his purpose, in a sense, or his goals so far.
Yeah, I did see the trailer.
Yeah, but definitely, I was hoping there would be like a Dokumaan talking about himself in this one, but again, that's most likely for a future set of cards down the line, where we have some backstory of Dokumaan.
He seems kind of like the Watcher.
That's exactly what
I was thinking the same thing too. Number 10, Validan. In the comic book, we do see him bring out that blue bow. However, he never used it, right? So what's really interesting about this one was, okay, he actually uses it to shoot arrows of some sort. So I was like, okay. I was a little iffy. I was like, is this really a bow? Or is it just some sort of sharp thing with, two sharp ends and just use it as uh, a scythe or something? But that's Validan. And in the back, real name is Validan, height 7 feet, tall dude. Birthplace Asgoro. It almost sounds like Asgard. What? I just realized that. And he says here, when I first visited, Dokumaan is speaking here. When I first visited Earth, the stories of mythical and ancient lore fascinated me. Most of them are completely made up, but once I found out about the existence of Validan, it confirmed that some are indeed beyond just tales. I must be one of the few beings who are aware of his true identity. The amazing thing is he's not hiding. He is currently the frontman of Norfolka and has one of the most powerful voices in music. Their guitarist, Takhari, is also special. Their powers often activate as they're performing, but people just think they're massive men using props on stage. Instead, these are gods that walk among regular people. Why are they here? Why are such distinctive beings touring the world as musical artists? Power observation. According to mythological texts, he relies upon a bow and arrow. I assume that his glowing eyes have something to do with the relationship with the bow. What are your thoughts so far?
I am wondering if they're going to start releasing music that goes with it.
That's interesting.
At the back of the book, it says backwordmusic.com, so maybe there's going to be some kind of accompanying music.
I don't know too much of Eric July's backstory, but Donnell, isn't Backwordz the name of Eric July's band?
It is. It is indeed.
Okay. So there is that. I think that's what he referenced in one of his tweets, an Easter egg, right? Reference to his band in the back. However, interesting thought. What other way to get everybody interested into a comic book but by releasing music related to the storyline, and it's music from Norfolka, but the Backwordz band is singing it?
That would actually be pretty dope.
Plus, it would make reading it easier because you could put music together with the lyrics.
Oh, that would be so cool. That would be cool, man. This expansion of the universe. Everybody knows this universe is gonna be. There's gonna be a lot of building to it, right? But if Eric July and the Rippaverse team brings in music to this, that brings a whole different dimension to just reading a comic book. There's music now related to it. Maybe they might create some sort of comic book that goes in line with music. And if you read it with music, it provides a different experience. I don't know. I know that's a wacky idea, but I'm just thinking out loud here.
Like releasing soundtrack videos on YouTube that you play in the background while you read it.
Yep. And that'll be crazy. And when they do get to animation film, live action film, background music provided by the Backwordz team, while Norfolka is, if that's showing Norfolka and their music, that'll be a nice addition to the experience, knowing that it's not just some random group of artists or music artists, musicians providing music for the film. It's Eric July and his band. There's so much connection here. And it's interesting how when we look at this connection between creator of a comic book and the readers, the creator is like Eric July is going to be heavily involved in every aspect of this thing, which is I don't think I know of any other artist that does that. Do you guys know?
I've never seen.
Nope.
Yeah.
The closest I think is maybe Image Comics in the early 90s, because that was the first artist and writer almost had a direct into the fans.
Yep, Todd McFarlane, and he's still creating comic books.
Closest I can think of is when they had that contest to determine whether Jason Todd lived or died.
Jason Todd? Who's that?
The second Robin. They apparently had a contest to determine whether the fans wanted him to survive being beaten to near death by the Joker, and not enough people called in, so they just let him die.
Yeah, this is. I feel like this is going to be way bigger than we think in terms of the Rippaverse universe, where it goes. And that's the feeling I got right from the get go. I mean, Eric July, from his videos, multiple topics, right? He seems driven. He seems he'll get the job done if he's focused on one goal. It's towards that goal. He's unwavering, and I feel like if this is really something he wants, obviously we see all this, the quality in the comic books, the trading cards, and who knows what else. I think it's just gonna grow so big, probably quicker than others have tried in the past. I mean, Image Comics has that Guinness World Record of being the longest running comic book developed by a single creator. I think that's how they say it. But this is more than just a comic book. I feel it's trading cards, it's music, it's a whole lot of stuff. And I think from his many tweets, Rippaverse is just getting started. Anyways, that's my thought about it. So that's Validan. That's number 10 in the list there. Number 11, Takhari, ancient uniform of some sort. But in the back here, also 7 feet. Oh my gosh, tall dude. Weight is unknown. Birthplace is Mauritania. Sounds like out of this world. Alongside Validan, Takhari is an ancient man. Unfortunately, the documentation of his existence is rather inaccurate. He is assumed to be a god of vengeance among those that worship him. But this is not true. He currently is the lead guitarist for the band Norfolka. Those who are familiar with his music often consider him as one of the greatest guitarists of all time. He plays notes that shouldn't be possible, and I assume this is related to his ability. Only in pockets of Africa are they at least knowledgeable of his existence. Again, what they know of them isn't entirely truthful, which allows him to simply walk among everyone else. His fans assume that his black eyes are contacts, but that clearly isn't the case. Should he decide to showcase the extent of his power, I fear for this planet. I didn't notice that in the book. I'll probably look back again. I didn't notice his eyes are completely black. Unless Dokumaan. Yeah, okay.
And Mauritania is Northwest Africa.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Power observation. Whatever he does with his fingers and hands seems to activate various things. But this isn't mere magic. This is something else. Again, more doesn't give us complete background, but just enough to get us a little bit more interested in learning more of these characters. What do you guys think of this guy?
I think he's going to be similar to Doctor Strange.
He does seem to be able to see threats that are coming or see into the future.
I just noticed he is wearing flip-flops in this one. Interesting. A lot of this art, it's signed here. I don't know who that is, that signature. Does that look familiar to any of you?
Yeah, I can't.
Holland, Horrender, W something.
W. Howard?
Oh, Howard, yeah, could be. Well, if this was made by a specific artist, I don't think not much has been said. That'll be interesting to hear more of. And I think all of these have the same signature. And they're all down here, so yeah, very similar. Right down on the foot. Donnell, since you just joined us towards the middle, I thought you would like to know a little bit about Isom. Do you have the cards by chance?
I don't have the card. Was asking about that as well.
So for Isom, his power abilities, according to Dokumaan, I do not know what his powers actually are. What I do know is that he's very strong and has only gotten stronger. So I was talking earlier that another member in our Facebook group had mentioned power growth. What do you make of it?
Like his powers increasing over time.
Yeah, and I think his powers does grow. I think we saw that when he was fighting Antoine the second time, and he did some move, and Antoine was like, "Where did that move come from?" As if he's surprised that he's gotten stronger since they last met. I wonder if the power growth isn't it doesn't last forever. It lasts in the moment. Um, and it's interesting because Dokumaan, let me read a little bit of what he says here, which I did it earlier. Let me read from the top. This man is one of the most intriguing subjects I've been keeping tabs on. Though he is from the city, he currently lives in Shadow Valley on his own ranch that has many workers. He is clearly an except, but have not quite figured out the origin of his powers. The suit that he wore has a symbol of the waistband that seems to change colors, but I don't quite know what it means. There was a moment not too long ago where it looked like he retired his attire and decided to no longer favor the life of fighting criminals in Flores Park. Is he back? It's hard to tell, but his abilities have grown unlike anything I've seen before. If this keeps up, he will be one of the most powerful beings on this planet.
Here's a theory, and this is what I was thinking about right when Eric, mentioned the Rippaverse. So his name is Isom, and my suspicion is that comes from a metric, right? Which means of relating to or character equality of related to evolving or muscular contraction as isometric against resistance. So I wonder if when facing someone more powerful, he is more powerful next time.
You're cutting out a little bit, but you mentioned isometric. Is that correct?
Yes.
Nice.
So the more strong of a foe, the more tough the challenge, the more he's going to have to come back against it. He's like a Saiyan.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes. Yes. I was just thinking that when you were explaining that. Oh.
I did get some Vegeta vibes from him of never giving up and keep training.
Wow. I'm so glad you guys joined. This is just making things so much more interesting, and I just cannot wait for more. One more thing before we end, Donnell, I wanted to bring back Yaira here. Number 2, right? So in the back, Dokumaan talks about her origins. 6'3", 215 pounds.
Good grief.
Yep. 215. And 6'3". So she's taller than Avery. So power observation. When her powers are activated, her hair and fingertips turn bluish. She has a constant whirlwind that surrounds her, which could explain her flight. Icicles seem to grow from her pores. I was wondering about those things, the pores, but what do you think about her now that you know a little bit more about her background?
Man, oh wow. I have no guesses at this point. I'm gonna have to think of more.
You'll notice, especially in this this card, right? Her hands do not have those bluish pores in the back of her hands. Her chest doesn't show any of that. If I move back to this here, you see the pores on the side, on her chest here. You'll also see in the book when she first appears in her gym uniform, she also does not have any of those pores or icicles in a sense coming out. There's a page in the back as well where it has her picture. She also does not show any pores or icicles when she's flying outside of Earth. So I was wondering about that. I was like, why are some of these things not showing up in certain iterations of her? And now I know they come and go. right?
Interesting. Yeah, all this stuff just be excited for whatever Eric jumps on next.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah, so the cards, they're not sold anymore. I know some are giving it, are selling them on eBay and other avenues, but I'm definitely excited for more Dokumaan trading cards. How do you guys feel? Do you feel like if more trading cards came in the next campaigns or future campaigns, will you buy them?
I probably will. The only reason I didn't buy more this is because I was like, man, I have no idea when all this stuff is coming in. I know they're going to be swamped by some of this stuff. It's kind of what, but I definitely want to the next time around.
Same here, especially because of all the little details that they reveal.
Very, very nice. I think I'm definitely going to buy both of them. And I'll buy more of them in the next campaign. Do you have Dokumaan cards as well?
Oh, no.
So for Isom, if you ever wondered his powers, Dokumaan says here, I do not know what his powers actually are. What I do know is that he's very strong and has only gotten stronger. Donnell mentioned something about isometrics. John also mentioned about Isom almost being similar to a Saiyan, getting stronger and stronger as the challenges get harder and harder. But that's Isom. What do you think about him so far?
Yeah, I feel like it's also similar to Invincible too, since they both possess super strength.
Sorry, can you say that one more time? You're a little soft.
Oh, sorry. I think it's also similar to Invincible. You know that common character Invincible.
Oh, Invincible. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of similar too.
Yep.
Someone I saw online made a joke about how Invincible's costume is a lowercase I, and Isom's costume is an uppercase I.
Yeah, I saw that one too. Interesting. All right, guys. I really appreciate you guys joining us. I do want to share more of these with everyone and share it with the group. And so for those who, after they read it, they can look at this and kind of take in our thoughts, our ideas, our interests about these things, and hopefully even feel more interested about what Rippaverse has to offer in the next upcoming campaigns and issues, which I think we are in for a treat moving forward. And so again, these trading cards, they come with more information about these characters not found in the comic books, and I think there's going to be a lot more of that later on, where we're going to see something happen. We're like, why is this possible? And then the next set of trading cards are going to explain a little bit more why, and probably give a little bit more insight on future storylines or storylines that are related to their past. I think that way we can have a very extensive timeline to kind of enjoy the different characters that are gonna be presented by the Rippaverse. So again, I thank you all. Appreciate your time, and hope you all have a good night.
You too.